Take a look here at the chat. Looking pretty good. Solaristics, Kilania, Lanzer, Dogs of War. It's good to see you guys. All right. So in this particular battle, guys, I do want to show you guys. I want to go back and just show you the main menu. When you jump into Desert War, I highly recommend you play this introductory scenario. I've spent a little time with the game. It is a little complex at the beginning, and I've learned some through the introductory scenario. I definitely have to go back and sort of polish my skills. There's also an editor for anybody that is interested in, of course, creating new missions, things like that. There's a quick start guide. I definitely recommend taking a look at this too to sort of learn the game. And of course, the game takes place in North Africa in 1940-42. So obviously the Germans were doing pretty well at this point. The battle that we're going to be playing in this particular case, though, is actually going to be a computer opponent, and it's going to be a fairly easy battle. Well, I wouldn't say fairly easy, but pretty easy for a beginner. So as you guys can see here, as the result of the British success in Operation Crusader, Rommel's Panzer Army Africa is in full retreat. The port of Bardia and its Axis garrison is cut off and surrounded by elements of the Second South African Division and the New Zealand Cavalry Regiment. Oh, we got some Kiwis here. The isolated German and Italian forces attempt to hold on to Bardia and its fortifications for as long as possible. There's hope that Rommel's retreat from Cyrenaica can be reversed, that he can turn and attack and lift the siege and rescue the embattled Bardia garrison. The Allies moved to eliminate that possibility. On December 31st, 1941, the 2nd South African Division, supported by tanks and naval gunfire, launched an attack against the southern defensive positions of the Bardia fortifications. Actually, I didn't even know there was a South African division that fought this much in the North African battle, so that alone is pretty neat. Now, of course, you can select Axis or Allies over here on the lower left corner. Let me just make sure everybody can see that screen. Wimps out again with an easy mission, says Crumb Drug. Oh, you bet. Yeah, definitely. Today, we're definitely going with an easy mission because I have very little experience with this game. Over here, you can pick Axis or Allies, of course. You can also give an AI bonus, so if you want a little bit of a challenge, for instance. And over here, you can also do AI for AI. If you just like to sometimes watch the game, I know I have some friends that they like to create AARs, and they also like to watch AARs. This would be something to pick. In this case, of course, we're going to select Fog of War, and we're going to jump into the game. Hey, Byron, how you doing? Hello, Redster. Okay, guys. So, we do have the tutorial here, and the reason it's currently on is because this is the initial, the starting mission. Oh, that was scary. I thought for a second that I did voice work for the game. I just have to turn off the Twitch menu. I'm not too worried. That being said, we're going to go ahead and jump in here to Desert War. I hope you guys are... That scared me so much. You have no idea. I was like, wait a minute. I didn't realize there were voices in this game. Okay, here we go, guys. So we can press H to basically take a look at the command lines. Obviously, just like many grand strategy games, you're going to have an HQ that's going to link to another HQ. This HQ, of course, links to this HQ. You want to, of course, keep these fairly close together. That pretty much makes sense, I think. Now, this is the setup phase. So, of course, we want to keep our artillery pretty far back. We want to select these guys over here, and I actually want to move them right there. Now, we're not stacking on that tile, which could be a problem, but for now, we're going to just go ahead and accept it. We've also got a machine gun here. You can tell sort of by the positioning of the actual unit. And if you right-click on the unit, you can get an idea of what kind of unit it is. Specifically, its positives, its negatives. The attack is 1. The defense is 4.5, which makes sense. I mean, this is a machine gun unit, so defense is going to be much better there, and remaining moves 8. So it can move 8 more times. Pretty interesting stuff. We've also got allocated supply. It is currently in the HQ supply range, so you definitely want to keep your units in the HQ supply range, which I believe right now, as far as I can tell, is 1 or 2 tiles. Again, I could be wrong on that. That could certainly change over time. So let's go ahead, we're going to go up here to this green button, and we are going to advance to the next phase. Okay, so at this point, we are going to go ahead and start our first attacks, guys. I want to take a look up north because it looks like we've got some scout cars here that may be useful. I also want to attack with the entire tile. So what I do for that to occur is I just double click there. select everybody, and I can attack this upper tile. I don't think I attacked with everybody, although maybe the infantry can't attack due to movement. I'll do the same over here. Go ahead and get on those tiles right there. Those tiles, of course, represent German territory. And I want to take this group of infantry, even though they are heavy infantry as well. Well, I should say heavy machine guns. I want to take them all and just charge into the enemy here. Do the same with the tanks. I really just want to break this central part if possible. And move that infantry up as well. We can move these guys in for the attack, and even the Greyhound. As for the tank, I'm going to assist in this attack. Now, another thing we can do is if we hover over here, and actually it's not that current, sorry, it's not the phase. There's going to be an artillery phase, and what you do there is you hover over your arty, press H, and it's going to let you select artillery targets. Let's move over here. Yeah, I've cloned your voice. Ah, yeah, thank you, Hobby General. So I am Agrippa Maxentius. Yeah, if you haven't seen my channel, make sure to check out my channel there in the link Musso put. If you've heard me before, I'm not surprised. That's very cool. We do a ton of strategy games over there, so please feel free to stop by. So there's definitely some guys occupying these spaces. Let's see how our attacks work. We're gonna press the proceed to next turn button. At this point, no real attacks have been created, no real attacks have been launched. Now, the Savona Corps, these might be Italians. We're going to go ahead. Now, this is the next part of the game that's quite interesting. We're about to watch the attack take place. Now, by pressing the play button, we can actually watch the attack slowly unfold, which is really cool. You can actually see the tiles moving, etc. If you're in a rush, you just immediately click this. The attack is resolved. And if you want to move forward to the end and skip every single bit of the attack, you click this button. Of course, we want to watch. So let's take a look here. All right, there go our tanks. Get them, boys. See some retreating there by the Savona, and I'm pretty sure the Savona are the Italians. There we go. Some nice attacks to the north as well. Okay, now I believe it's the artillery phase. Yes, I love this phase. So, we go ahead, we select an artillery piece, we press H. Oh, please tell me H is the button, come on. Oh, it's R, sorry guys. So we press R. At this point, we can actually provide defensive artillery. If you take a look here, you see that defend button, which is pretty cool, and not something I've seen in a game before. So I am going to provide defensive artillery here. Now, with this artillery unit, let's go ahead and grab them. I'm going to go ahead and possibly fire into the enemy. No! I think I just fired at myself. That's not good. Alright, good. We'll fire into the Savona area, of course. And I want to finish off these guys. They're trapped. We might as well go ahead, finish them off. We'll even go ahead and attack the HQ. In fact, I want to attack with the whole stack. As for the tank, I'm going to do the same. Go ahead and attack. And just keep on moving forward, basically. I'm not exactly scared of enemy engineers, but I don't like these guys being so close to our men. Now, this is another cool thing. If you guys look at the right thing, I had it turned off before, but if I mouse over a unit, I can actually take a look at the right, get a portrait of the unit, the kind of unit it is, etc. Really think that's a really cool addition. And as you can see here, we're definitely attacking some German and some Italian units. The third unit there has the Italian flag in the background. We're just not sure what kind of unit it is. We don't have enough information on it. And over here we have some Italian units as well. It looks like a scout car, artillery, half-track. Yeah, we should be careful. We shouldn't underestimate them at all. So let me go ahead and double-click here. And I'm charging right in for that ground attack. We've also got some tanks, if I'm not mistaken. And I want them heading over here. So they might not attack this turn, but eventually they will. Might as well also start moving these HQs up a little bit closer. I think it's looking pretty good, boys. We'll go ahead and continue. Proceed to next turn. Yes, indeed. Okay, we're about to take a look here at this turn. Music is too loud. Sure, we'll turn it down a bit. Thank you for that. Hold on. We'll even go in game and turn it down a bit if we need to. All right. So let's go ahead and see how this turn executed. Come on, boys. So again, we prepared for some attacks, not for others. It looks like the engineers actually attacked us. Pretty decent there. And yes, we will proceed to the next phase. So readiness is, of course, the little sort of green icon you see on your unit. It's reduced by unit actions, moving, attacking, etc. Low readiness reduces the effective attack defense values. So units recover readiness by resting. And this is basically, just not attacking with the unit. We can right-click a unit and move the cursor over the icons for more information regarding readiness. As you can see over here, these guys are sort of like orange and yellow. Pretty much means that they're not doing so hot. They could definitely use a break pretty soon. Now, since they're attacking an HQ, I can't allow that, but it's definitely something to consider for the future. We're also very close to the enemy, so that's another reason I'm a little reticent about their readiness. How about that? Let's go ahead and fire some artillery into that unit. We're going to try to attack again with these guys in the north. I'm not sure why they didn't make it through. Attack from here as well. I think with the tanks, we should be able to break through pretty easily. Okay, we're attacking the Bologna division. So we're looking at total victory points right here. Looks like our allied victory points are 26. And victory points that the enemy has received for destroying our units are 6. So we do want to be careful about that. Okay, I like this view more because we actually get to see the type of unit. So here we go. The Savona infantry regiments are holding out. Interesting. Okay. Still a few over here. And actually that tank is not doing so good either. Let's see what happens when we proceed to next turn. Hopefully we smash through once again. Although you never know. Alright, that's the artillery bombardment before the attack. Moving with a tank, that actually seemed to work fine. Once again, here we go. Wow, we're pushing them right up against the coast. This is exactly what we wanted, guys. It's exactly what we wanted. They are pushed up against the coast. I don't see them having much more room to actually move. So this is looking really good for us. Look at that. Initially, they had controlled all of this area over here, basically up to where our HQs are, and now we push them all the way to the coast. I love it. So I'm going to go ahead and get these tanks into position. They do look tired, but I think with this being a pretty short scenario, they probably have enough time to attack the enemy and still be fine. Let's take a look here at the chat. Malted biscuits. I like this discussion has turned to malted biscuits. That's interesting. All right, so we're going to take these units. Actually, we'll try to take the entire force. And remember, we've got South Africans fighting here. That still amazes me, and not something I actually knew. I knew that the South Africans declared war on Germany in World War II, but I had no clue that they actually participated in some major battles on an operational level like this. So that's pretty amazing to me. All right, there we go. We're going to attack. We'll attack with this unit as well. This unit as well. And, of course, finally, the Pilgrim. It looks like we're going to be able to walk right over these guys. However, with these guys, I want to be very careful. That engineer unit has done pretty well against us in the previous turns. Let's give them some respect and let's keep our distance. Now, as for the artillery, oh, you bet I'm going to be using these guys. I'm going to go ahead and fire into the Savona infantry regiment. Where is Savona, Muso? Is this close to Milan or far away? Let's move forward here. And we have some more infantry regiments here in North Africa. I believe we can fire at the HQ. Yes, we can. Now, we're firing as well as attacking with infantry. I'm not sure how the game handles indirect fire or friendly fire. I'm not sure if it takes it into account. So we're taking a tiny risk, but let's see what happens. Fingers crossed. Fingers crossed. I just wanted to have one last look at our men, just in case they die during this attack. We won't forget you, boys. Here we go. Alright, so the artillery attack happens first. I like that. That's a safe idea. Good plan. Alright, there we go. Looks like some of the enemy's breaking out. Okay, I think, well, let's see, guys. So this is very interesting. Shock is one of the most important aspects of the game. Armored units usually have a shock of 4, which means in an armored unit can shift the odds of an attack by 4. A 1-to-1 attack becomes a 5-to-1 attack, so obviously that gives you the idea of the strength of an armored attack. Shock shifts the odds of an attack by the shock value. Aside shock is the maximum shock value of any of its units, reduced by the percentage of units that have no shock. The percentage is calculated on unit stacking sizes. So you can look over here at the issues of shock. If you look at the unit details over here, this means that the unit is shocked. So basically, it's like a black background with a sort of thunderbolt going through it. If that is grayed out, then it's not shocked, or it has no shock value. So if you take a look at that Italian regiment, the second one down, does have some shock value. So does the 4th and 5th one down. The Genova Cavalleria. Genova. So they've got some serious shock value there. And we're just going to just pile drive into these guys with everything we've got. I'm going to do the same with the Africa HQ here. I don't care so much about the engineers. They can bypass us, but the HQ cannot. There we go. Full attack on the HQ. Let's take a look here at the chat, see what you guys think so far. Oh, about 1 hour. Ah, not bad. So these guys are close. That's a good question, Gray Matters. I believe there is. And apparently someone mentioned, yeah, there is a Kiwi scenario. We do have Kiwis with us right now. We've got a few New Zealanders in our current army, actually. So let's go ahead and end the turn here in a second. Obviously, we've already taken a look at the HQ hierarchy. I think I showed you guys that. Once again, we'll just mouse over the HQs. This is letting us know, what HQ is in control of what units, etc. We actually might want to move this guy up just a little bit. Just move him like over here. He'll be bringing more supplies there to these tanks. And of course, turn would not be over without a good old-fashioned artillery bombardment. Just going over the different hotkeys here. If you guys want to take a look, we can go ahead and even lower the music volume even more here. No! Don't want to exit. Alright guys, let's end the turn. Man, I'm really hoping for a good one on this one. We're attacking the enemy HQ. Taking it would be great. And that's the Bardia command. Let's go for it. For the king. Not bad. Some info here on reconnaissance. We did manage to do some damage, but obviously not enough to break them. I think they just need a little more, just need to give them a few more hints that we don't want them here, basically. Now, these guys are getting hit pretty hard, but if you look at the enemy HQ, they are badly shocked. They're badly damaged here. So I'm sending in everybody I can, even the engineers, as a matter of fact, for this attack. We'll also move in with our tanks over here, and let's get these guys to fire again on, this time, the HQ. I really want to take that tile. Come on, boys. There we go. That's ours. Totally crushed that HQ. Now, we have to be careful. This is an 8-turn mission, so we have to take that position quickly. We've taken most of the positions, but unfortunately not all of them. Okay, air units can be assigned to different missions. So this is actually new to me. It says here, click on the button to the left to open-close the unit display. If the button has a red outline, then no missions have been assigned. Yellow, some units have missions. Green, all units have missions. Right-click the unit button displays to learn more information about the unit. As far as I can tell, we don't have any air units on this particular map. Again, I could be wrong. I'll take a look over here. Take a look at the HQ. I don't think so. Now, this gives us some information about individual HQs. I'll also show you the hierarchy, the HQ hierarchy. So this shows you just how complex the HQ can be. Somebody was asking earlier about I guess, like the casualties, and if you could see them on the map, which is something I also like. I think the closest you can get to that, if you take a look at this HQ hierarchy, it goes down, obviously, and there are units assigned to it. And if you look at, for instance, North Force 8-8, you can see a little skull there. So that means one of the units in that particular force has been destroyed. We also have an infantry unit in that force and a tank unit as well. Over here in King Force, 2 units have been destroyed. So they've gotten hit pretty hard there. It's not been easy for King Force, obviously, but it is what it is. So we're going to go ahead and, once again, we are going to fire that artillery. We're softening up the enemy. That's the whole idea. And moving in with the attack. South Force. There's South Force. They put up an amazing fight. Might not send the tank in for this one because he needs some time to rest. This other tank, on the other hand, he can definitely go in for the attack. And I would not recommend ever sending HQs in for the attack. That's just me personally. Maybe. It's a great idea. Let's go ahead and fire with the 3rd artillery piece as well. And we will grab both of these units and go for an attack in the north. I think we can actually break these guys. Let's see if I'm right. Wait a minute, and wait a minute. We didn't see this before. This is new. Let's assign those air units. Aha. So these are recon units. I was hoping for some bombers. And we can actually see in the lower right-hand corner the Maryland Squadron. So, yeah, we can go ahead and, I guess, do some recon missions over here. Doesn't really seem that necessary, to be honest with you. Yeah, let's do that. So it shows the little recon icon, which I guess lets us know that that guy's going to be flying the mission. End the turn. Again, I was hoping for bombers, but I'll take a recon plane. Why not? Open fire. I think we just crushed them with our artillery. I don't even think, guys, that our infantry got into contact with them combat-wise. I think our artillery totally destroyed them before we even got there. Wow. That's rough. So we do have some off-map assets, and this is something that just recently popped up on the screen. I'm guessing this is a battle-by-battle basis sort of thing. It's not always going to pop up. In this case, we might have some off-map assets. We obviously have some recon here, which we can perform on the enemy there. We also have a recon plane. He's already checking this area out, so I'm going to let him do his thing. But it is interesting to see that these sort of pop up right here on the left-hand side toolbar. I like that. I like it very much. All right, but now you have to go away, recon plane. There you go. So I'm going to attack. Again, I'm not sure why I'm not going for the full unit attack. Because before I would just double click, that seemed to work all right. That's okay. We need to sort of multitask this anyway. Let's move forward once again. And, of course, we're going to hit the HQ. For the enemy HQ division, I'm going to go ahead and position all artillery to fire on it. If we can wipe out their leaders, then they're not going to do anything. Interesting. So at this point, our artillery is actually out of range. We can move it closer in range, or we could provide some defensive artillery. I think I'll actually provide some defensive artillery there. Let's do it. Proceed to next turn. Why not? We have been defeated! Oh, and it's because of the victory points there. If you look at the difference there of the Axis and the Allies, we were climbing very, very quickly after we started taking those final points, but we did not beat them. That's unfortunate. We can actually see the ammo per turn. We could show the units on the map per turn, which also gives you an idea of the losses and the gains, etc. The victory points are really... that's the unfortunate part. Really, really unfortunate. Man, I was hoping for a win there. What'd you guys think so far of that battle? So that is the starting battle right there. Essentially the tutorial battle, as it were. Yeah, thanks, Tesker. Tesker just shared a great review by Wargamer. Hey, Van Bishop, how you doing, buddy? Good to see you, Pixel. Yeah, great. You didn't crush them all quick enough. Exactly, Pixel. I don't think I did. Alright guys, so let's head back to the main menu at this point. And we're going to play another mission here. So this is, of course, the release scenario of the game. So I have no problem showing you... I'm not going to show you all the missions, but we can show you a few. We've got the Reluctant Offensive. This is a really, really fun one. It's quite a lot of turns, though, 36 turns. Operazione E. I like to play this one actually as the Axis. So it allows you to actually play as the Italians against the British, because, you know, Mussolini essentially declared war on the British or threatened to attack them in North Africa. He finally followed through that plan. So for fun today, we're going to go ahead and we're going to take a look at Operazione E. We are using the Fog of War right there, and I'm going to create the game. So here we go. I think we're going to be playing with a lot of Italian units, obviously some German units as well. I would be surprised if the majority were not German, but if we're playing with Italian units, that's going to be tough. So obviously before the actual battle itself, you get a sort of description screen of what's going to happen, the army information, the historical background of the battle, etc. This is very interesting stuff, and I'm guessing John Duquette, the author, really went to great lengths to get just significant information about all of the elements of this battle. So let's go ahead and end the turn here and start moving into position. So, of course, this is the deployment phase, and as you guys can see, this is much larger than the initial battle of the game. Of course, you've got some smaller scenarios, and then you've got these much, much larger campaigns, which really make up just a great deal of the game and something that I really love about the game. So I'm going to, of course, be sticking to the campaign. Some of the units you can't necessarily move because they're fixed. Keep in mind, for those of you just joining the stream, that if you want to play multiplayer, that's also an option. But in most cases, we can actually go ahead and move some of these units forward. So I'm not sure what these guys are. The 233rd Legion CCNN. These are some Italian brigades. I'm not familiar with the NATO counter at all. Guessing there's some sort of motorized unit. I want to move them to the front here. And we're going to go ahead and get started so we can see what the enemy's got in store for us. And, well, what we've got in store for them as well. We are the ones technically on the offensive on this one. Ridotta Capuzzo. I don't see anything yet. Let's keep on moving. Now, we could be using our scout planes right now to check out the area. That's probably not a bad idea. So let's send some scout planes out over this area. And I'm also going to use my radar. Check out this area. It's all desert. You can also right-click on the tile, as you can see here, to find out information about the particular area, its attack modifiers, bonuses, things of that nature. So we'll get some information here. I will still start moving up with some of these infantry units. They seem a little reluctant to want to move, but trust me, boys. And these are, look at this, guys. So let's take a look at the right. These are actually Libyan infantry regiments. As you know, the Italians did have some colonial soldiers in their army. So these are actually Libyans. Very interesting stuff. I'm going to go ahead and move the rest of these guys forward. Maletti. So this guy is a mechanized unit. We're going to drive behind the enemy lines. We're still not seeing anything. And maybe it's going to take a while for the enemy to actually spot us. Like, perhaps this is a much longer operation than anticipated. I do already see a Rolls-Royce vehicle here. We can actually tell that just by mousing over it. Let's go ahead and attack. Could be the Desert Rats. So it looks like we took that victory point fairly easily, unless we're going to be stopped on the way. That's obviously a machine gun unit. This is a flak unit. Let's go ahead and start just moving forward completely. I think this area is just completely under our control. At least until we hit the Halfaya Pass. And as you can see, this is probably where the British are over here in this area. So it might take a while, actually, to really get into contact with these guys. Italian light tank, interesting. I think I'll keep the AA back here, especially since we have a lot of headquarters, a lot of artillery, things like that. So yeah, let's keep those guys back. I have to say, I really like the engine sounds. Very cool stuff there. Got a lot of beautiful Italian motorcycles, and the Italians do make some excellent cars and motorcycles. So again, this is a much larger scenario, and that's why this one, you know, is, I think it's 36 turns, because it takes a lot longer to actually develop it, as you can imagine. Then you have to look, of course, at the chain of command here for the HQs, and you can see on this one, it's absolutely massive. It's a huge chain of command, and of course, you need to learn this little by little throughout the game, and be able to coordinate all of your attacks together. Really keep these headquarters close to your men where they're needed. So we're actually moving a lot of these mechanized units really far beyond their boundaries, I guess you could call it. We want to start moving those HQs close as well. Within reasonable distance, of course, and reasonable limits. Forza. I want to keep the artillery together so that when we're firing, we're actually getting like a major hit on the enemy. Not just one or two guns firing, but the entire group. Now, this I'm not familiar with. It's a Maletti M1340 tank. Interesting. All right, let's end the turn. Let's see if the British appear. I don't think they will. I think it's going to be a while trekking through the desert before we spot any other British units. Okay, here we go. We're also going to be getting those recon shots. And yeah, it seems like there's a few British units just kind of in the desert, hanging out. Sounds weird, hanging out, like they're just standing around. But sort of just scouting the desert. So I think maybe once we get to Solombara, you guys can see that there, maybe that's where we're going to start encountering some real enemy resistance. I am going to immediately take our artillery and fire at that area. Also bring in some mechanized units. Maybe we can attack this turn. Looks like we've got a motorcycle regiment, of course. I'll take these guys and just charge in. There we go. That's what I was looking for. Selecting all the units at once. Now, this actually looks like an anti-tank gun, so I will open fire on that unit. I'm also going to try to get a hit there with the artillery. We've got to keep moving forward with the infantry regiments. We can't just stop here and get complacent. We must continue the offensive. So as you can see, those sort of circles lets you know that that's a British Army position. I'm pretty sure that those are going to be victory points that we need to take to win the actual scenario. Let's start getting these Libyan troops forward as well. It's going to take them a while to cross this desert, but we have no choice. Let's take a look here. Can HQ units and their units group move? Yes, absolutely. Absolutely, they can. I'm going to go ahead and do some shameful advertising here. Go ahead and put all the channels. Mine's at the bottom there. Of course, above that, we have the awesome Matrix and Slytherin channels, where every single one of these uploads that we do goes up on as well. You definitely want to check every single one of those out, guys. As for this arty, I want to get it much closer to the front. But that requires us to actually go ahead and move this group together, and we might have to wait. I'm not sure how the rules apply in this game regarding artillery and movement. In a lot of strategy games, as you guys know, if you move an artillery unit, you actually have to wait a few turns, or a turn at least, to fire after you move it. I'm not sure that rule applies here. It might not, and if it doesn't, hey, that's great. For now, I'm going to keep on moving these mechanized units across the desert. And I really want to try and cut off any possibility of the British bringing reinforcements from this road over here to the Solom area. So we want to go ahead, bring these guys in. Got these anti-tank guns. I absolutely want them forward. Now, you can play however you want. You can play the way I'm playing. I'm not really sending everybody forward. I'm just sending a few units forward and keeping the rest back. You could be more aggressive. You could obviously send a bunch of units in for an attack, or you could bring your entire army over here. You could set up your army all over here in Bir al-Kirukat. I see a lot of areas here in Egypt where there are elevations which would probably help you in some sort of defensive situation. In fact, we might start trying to move some units down there just to recon the area. We might even go ahead and lead a recon plane that way. So as you can see, yeah, HQs can definitely move. We're moving with some right now. With the recon plane, I'm going to actually recon over here. That seems like a much better idea. Interesting. It doesn't seem like we can get a reading too far out. That might be the limit. All right, fair enough. Keep it up, boys. So we're really setting up on the coast there. I hope the enemy doesn't have any sort of naval units, because if they do, we're going to be in a lot of trouble. They could easily just pick us off there from the coast. All right, let's see how this goes. So there should be a lot of movement across that desert during this turn. Let's see how it went. Here we go. Ooh, we've got some artillery fire from the enemy. If they've got artillery guns, they've got to have more defenses than that. And that sounds like a Stuka dive bomber. That might be our bomber going in for an attack, actually. Oh, man. Things are starting to happen here. Maletti has actually come into contact with some British units. Look at that, guys. So I'm thinking if they have a force here, although this is, look at that, that's a coastal force. So maybe they don't have a lot of units here. It looks like our recon discovered some more artillery sitting back here. Obviously, if you're in this situation, your goal is to take out enemy arty as quickly as possible. So I'm immediately going to be advancing on all of those enemy positions. We're also going to try and cut through here. There's still some enemies apparently in this area. Now, sometimes when I move the unit, it just allows me to basically move the tile and drop it on the enemy tile, and it just stays there. I think, and I could be wrong, that probably just reflects the fact that we're absolutely going to win that battle. The enemy can't really withstand the attack. It's just too strong, basically. If that's the case, then maybe we should, once that happens, we shouldn't attack anymore, because we could use our units for other purposes, of course. Let's keep on moving. Forza Italia. Okay, let's get that artillery division to move forward as well. I think this is going to be primarily our main attacking group, really. It's going to be a lot of mechanized divisions, a lot of motorcycle divisions, and it sort of makes sense. I mean, if you imagine you're moving across an entire desert, you are going to be moving with a lot of mechanized divisions, etc. And the Italians have no shortage of these mechanized groups. Libyan tanks as well. All right, let's see what happens. We'll take a look here quickly at the chat. Sorry, guys, it's tough to look at the chat while playing the game all the time. Yes, absolutely. So somebody is asking if both sides are playable. Absolutely. For every mission, you can pick both Axis or Allies. Totally up to you. Not the rolls. Exactly, Pixel. Such a beautiful vehicle, but one that still needs to be destroyed, unfortunately. Oh, there's the shameless plug. Here we go. Was it a Stuka or a Shvuka? Stuka. It was a Stuka. What is wrong with your hearing? You should know by now. Let's move forward here. Again, the Libyans have to move forward as well. And the Libyans are making up a very large part of this army. So without a doubt, the Italians have some colonial allies here, for lack of a better word. All right, proceed to a next turn. Let's get an attack on these British positions. Pretty sure these are just coastal sort of guard positions, not very well supplied, and we should be able to break right through them. I'm not 100% sure on that, though, so we want to exercise caution. But so far, our recon planes haven't spotted anything out in that big old desert. Spotted a few enemy trucks. That's about it. Nothing for us to really be concerned about. Remember that the British were somewhat unprepared for this attack, so, you know, that's going to be reflected in the campaign. You know, maybe the first few turns, there won't be much action, but eventually you're going to come up across a major British force. Here we go. Oh, it looks like they did a counterattack on us. Wow, man, that was serious. So that was actually a counterattack on our units right there. I did not expect that they would try that. In fact, we didn't even know that their units were waiting for us. So we're going to send that guy in, as well as the anti-tank gun. I'm guessing the anti-tank gun can do a pretty good job against a coastal force. You'd be surprised what any kind of gun can do to any sort of real infantry or mechanized infantry force. So let's go ahead and try to move in here. Major attack. I want to go ahead and just try to push through with Maletti. Maletti. Now I'm doing a very American version of Maletti. Maletti is doing a great job here, but we've got to get these artillery bits closer. If we get these pieces closer, then we can start firing. And now we can actually check if it's got that rule about firing artillery. Let's take a look. Yeah, I mean, unfortunately it does, but I mean, that makes sense. So just like most strategy games, if you move that arty, you're going to have to wait to fire it. Just those tiny things that I wish weren't part of any game, but you just got to live with them. We've still got some army units up here. Might as well send them in too. And again, guys, we are coming close to the end of the stream. That's why I might not move every single unit. Obviously, if you're going for a full campaign in this game, you probably want to move every single unit you can forward, because you're going to need to move this army across the desert and capture all of these locations. So keep that in mind. Let's go ahead and end the planning phase. Here we go. Italian assault here. And it looks like the tanker Maletti managed to break through, maybe. Let's see. No, they held, guys. They actually held. And you could start seeing a lot more troops accumulating here. So this is what I was talking about cutting off the enemy at Halfaya Pass. They're going to be sending reinforcements through this road up to the north to defend this area against our attack. If we're able to cut that area off, then they have a big problem. And obviously they have some victory points over here as well that we want to capture. I can tell now that, without a doubt, the British are going to be approaching from this area right here, and there are going to be a bunch of tank battles. It looks like our units actually came out of that okay, and you can tell by the colors there, the green color, coloration lets us know that supply is doing fine, health is okay. The enemy, on the other hand, they look a little worse for wear. And it looks like both of them have that shock value attachment that we talked about earlier. So, not looking great there. All right, guys. What's the average number of turns for a campaign? So, Van Bishop, I've seen quite a few numbers. I mean, I think it jumps around. You can just see on that starting screen, 836, 15. It really jumps around. And of course, depending on the length of the campaign you want to play, if you want to play like a really long campaign, go for it. You can also boost enemy AI. You can even turn off Fog of War if you want. Of course, I wouldn't recommend doing that. And like I mentioned before, there is a multiplayer element to the game too. There are also some really great tutorials at the start. I think there's sort of 2 different tutorials that will give you a basic idea of how to play. The game is fairly complex initially, but it really is an easy game to master and learn. Once you get over that initial hump, and then you understand what you're doing, you understand where your units are moving. You also want to become familiar with the NATO counters. Something I didn't show during this Let's Play is we're using the standard just unit icon, but we can also switch to NATO counters. So if you feel more comfortable with that, you can do that. I personally like the look of these unit icons, even though I generally do prefer NATO counters, but it's really cool stuff. So anyway, guys, thank you so much for stopping by. An excellent amount of people. We've got 117 people here for the stream. I hope every single one of you is going to go out and pick up Desert War. I highly recommend it. And in fact, just as a special treat here, I don't want to give away too much, but I will go ahead and show you a few more missions. I'm just going to go down the list for you guys. Muso can put the channels over there on the right side. If you guys want to check me out on the bottom channel, Agrippa Maxentius. We're always welcoming new subscribers, so I'd love to see you there. So one thing I wanted to say is also this. I'm not going to go down all the way, but I'll give you a few more battles. As you can see here, Operation Battle Axe, by the way, played as the Allies. Excellent, excellent battle. And, of course, the Battle of Sidi Rezekh. Now, these are 21, 24, but when you also have to consider the amount of units you have in the battle, because even if it's only, let's say, a 12-turn campaign, if you have the entire German army in North Africa, you're going to have to do a lot of movements. Now, if we go back here, you can also play hot seat. So if you got a buddy over, you could do that. Or you could go into standard multiplayer games. But what I'm hoping for is there is an editor in game. So I'm willing to bet that people are going to be able to come up with some pretty interesting battles using the editor. Of course, that's totally up to you guys, but I'd love to see what people come up with. Anyway, guys, I hope you enjoyed this stream. This is Agrippa Maxentius signing off for now. I will see you tomorrow, and I really, really hope to see you on the battlefield here in Desert War, although I call Germans right away. See you there, my friends.